means you got to get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
It is officially official. The Jets are moving on from Aaron Rodgers.
This guy's been nothing but an A1 headache.
Aaron Rodgers comes with a lot of baggage.
It's the media appearances. It's the things that come out of his mouth.
He's not in any rush to make a decision, wants to take some time.
It's so much fun to put him on whatever your favorite team is and think that it can work.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting on an answer. Aaron Rodgers is aware of the Vikings situation.
He's played good football over the last 2 months, and someone's going to want a winning football playing quarterback.
These days, it seems like everyone has a podcast and everybody around pro football has an opinion about Aaron Rodgers and his next move. And Tuesday, those two things came together. On his podcast, former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger speculated that Rodgers hasn't signed with Pittsburgh yet because he's holding out hope he can join the Vikings. Meanwhile, on his podcast, Raiders star Max Crosby predicted that Rodgers will retire, adding, "I just can't see him in a Pittsburgh uniform." Now, that's all speculation. And meanwhile, the man with the most invested in Rodgers joining the Steelers says he's just waiting, optimistically, for now.
I would say it was a good sign that he wanted to do that. And, when we keep hearing that, he's, I guess, headed in our direction. And so that seems to be all signs are positive so far. I mean, we keep getting, positive sort of signals about it. So, I'd say we feel pretty good about it.
Are you content to wait?
Well, not forever, but a little while longer.
He would be in a tough division in Pittsburgh, but he has had a successful career in limited opportunities against the AFC North. He's got the 5th best win percentage as a starting quarterback against the division over the last 25 years. Rodgers would be the second quarterback to start for a team he previously beat in the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson with the Broncos is the other. Jerry Jones says he has an agreement with Micah Parsons on the length of his next contract, the guaranteed money and the total amount, but there's no contract yet. Jones says he met with Parsons for about 5 or 6 hours and said their direct communication is most important. But Parsons has said he's not doing anything without agent David Mulugita involved. Here's Jones.
The agent is not a factor here of something to worry about. And I don't know his name. And so my point is that I'm not trying to demean him in any way. But this isn't about an agent. I'm the one who has to sign the check, and Michael's the one that has to agree to it. So that's the straightest way to get there is the one writing the check and the one agreeing to it talking.
Due respect and then immediate disrespect. Mac, we know Jerry serves as both judge and jury, but it seems like nothing gets done these days without undue friction in Dallas. What do you make of Jerry trying to box out an agent here?
It's another day in the life of the Cowboys. You talk about being the ultimate soap opera in the NFL. I grew up with my grandma, and we used to watch CBS daily. And one of her favorite soap operas, it was Young and the Restless and God in Light. And I became a fan of Young and the Restless and God in Light. And the thing that I love about those two soap operas, there was always drama. Always drama. Verbal drama, sometimes physical drama, but it was going to be some drama that made you want to watch the next episode. And that's what we're seeing from Jerry Jones. The agent is relevant. It is. If that player has an agent representing him. And for Jerry to not acknowledge the agent and how relevant he is, that is a problem. Because you can say whatever you want to say about the personal one-on-one conversations you've had with your star player in Micah Parsons. Nothing will get done, contractually speaking, without the agent reviewing the language of the contract, reviewing the terms, and then he will tell his client, who he is representing, yes, we got a deal. That's why Micah Parsons is paying him to do a job. So Jerry just making it seem like, nah, that ain't a big deal. It is. And Jerry has been in the game far too long to not know this, to not understand this. You can't go ahead and try to make a neighborhood contract with Micah Parsons and, hey, man, let's go ahead and agree to this. No, he's going to, let me see the paperwork. Let me see the documents. Let's send it over to my guy. That's how it works. That's how it worked for his first contract. So why would Jerry Jones think otherwise, Joe? Remember, they negotiated with Parsons' agent during his rookie contract. I understand the rookie pay scale is slotted, but you still had to talk with the agent. So Hey, A Day in the Life. Dallas used to be a TV series back in the day. They got the ultimate soap opera, depending on which one you grew up watching. Like I said, I was The Young and the Restless and a Guiding Light fan. They're going to give you some drama. And once again, Jerry provided the drama for all of us.
Yeah, when you're trying to take steps closer together to get the deal done, it felt like a step taken apart here on Tuesday. I will add The Young and the Restless in its 52nd season on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Bryant McFadden, thank you as always.
Great plug, Joe.
All right, here's a look at your highest paid non-quarterbacks. A commitment likely to be made to Micah Parsons in the not too distant future. Parsons going to find himself at the top, if not in the neighborhood of those highest paid non-quarterbacks. The contemporaries in both wide receivers and edges, with the lone departure, a defensive tackle in Chris Jones making $31.8, but it's 40 plus for Parsons.
Meanwhile, 49ers team president Jed York said his team made the decision to re-sign Brock Purdy midway through last season. They consider Purdy a top 10 quarterback and expect to have to pay him as such after this season. So they've been watching their finances, and as a result, the 49ers have traded, released, or lost 17 players this season. York explained the approach.
Look, I get it. Like, fans care, right? Like, you want to win, and when you're in a world where everybody is watching the NFL the first week of free agency, or at least the first 3 days of free agency, it's a frenzy. And when you're not overly active in that space, it gets easy to say, you don't want to win. I think we have, a handful of Pro Bowlers and potentially even better players on our roster still. Like, we still have a pretty good roster. I don't know that as we looked at the board that there was somebody that we felt made that type of an impact more so than making the decision to try to go pay Brock.
Meanwhile, in Dallas,
for more on this matter and others, we say hello to Bryant McFadden. Mac, I'm putting you on the spot here. Purdy is the what number quarterback in the league in your eyes?
What number quarterback in the league? He is top 15.
I've got him at 14 in my personal rankings. I only offer that to ask you this because we've got a lot of guys making 50 plus now on an average annual value. Of the 5 making 55 plus, 1 won a playoff game last year, Josh Allen. How much pressure is there going to be on Purdy to play to his contract after all that the Niners have sacrificed to get something done?
There's always pressure when you talk about receiving a potential record-breaking deal or being anywhere in the neighborhood of high players at your position. There's always pressure. But for Brock Purdy, he can care less about those concerns. He wants an opportunity to receive what he is deserving of receiving. And fans have talked about this potential contract off and on throughout the entire offseason. And the first thing they say, well, Brock Purdy is more of a product of what is surrounding him. Okay. And if that's the case, he's done everything he's supposed to do. But if you look at Brock Purdy, he has outkicked the coverage compared to the other guys that had the position before he became the starting quarterback. And because of the success of Brock Purdy, keeping everything in coordinates, they've won ball games, they've been relevant. People don't talk about the Trey Lance trade, right? People don't talk about that because of Brock Purdy. People don't talk about paying Jimmy Garoppolo. No, those were things that were mishaps for the San Francisco 49ers, but we don't talk about them. Why? Because Brock Purdy has jumped into the saddle and he hasn't missed a beat. That's very, very important. So I would never consider Brock Purdy as an individual, Joe, to be in that elite conversation, to be in that top 10 conversation. But when you look at the market for quarterbacks, the same can be said for other guys who were paid. Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert. Are they in that elite conversation? No. Have they been winning more than losing? No. Have they been to a Super Bowl? No. Have they had success in playoff games to the level of Brock Purdy? No. But did they have to scratch and claw to get their deal? No. So if you're Brock Purdy, don't try to have me in that running back scale where you're kind of just keeping a cap on what I can get. Give me the same grace and favor those players receive, because up until this point, when it comes to wins and losses, Brock Purdy has been better than those quarterbacks that I mentioned. And they got paid, so why can't Brock Purdy?
I totally agree with you.
Didn't hang up his cleats just yet. Campbell agreed to a one-year deal to play his 18th NFL season with the Cardinals. Contract is for $5.5 million and up to $7.5 million with incentives. Cardinals drafted Campbell in the second round in 2008, and he played for them for 9 seasons. He's also played for 4 other teams. Still to come, it's the talk of tush-push short yardage play. It was popularized by the Eagles. Bills also use it very effectively, and it's been almost unstoppable on the field. So the Packers proposed a rule to stop it in a conference room at the owners' meetings in Florida. But you might say Tuesday's proceedings ended with a false start. The league tabled Green Bay's proposal for a ban after it got support from 16 of the NFL's 32 teams. The ban needed 24 votes to pass. So now the NFL is likely to revisit the issue at its spring meetings in Minnesota in May.
The reality of it is, I think that's makes a lot of sense in many ways, because I think it expands it beyond just that single play. There are a lot of plays where you see someone pulling or pushing somebody that are not in the tush-push formation that I think do have an increased risk of injury. And so I think the committee will look at that and come back in May with some proposals.
We've been very open to whatever data exists on the tush-push. And, there's just been no data that shows that it isn't a very, very safe play. If it weren't, we wouldn't be pushing the tush-push. Coach Stoutland has created a play we can be very successful at.
There were a few changes to the NFL rules and procedures approved for this fall. The league will use the Hawkeye virtual measurement system for measuring first downs instead of using a crew to measure with chains, but the crew will remain on the sidelines in a secondary capacity. After a kickoff return rate of 33% last season, touchbacks will now be marked at the 35-yard line. That's expected to increase the rate of returns. Last year's changes to kickoff procedure produced a 43% drop in concussion rates on kickoffs, which was the purpose for the change in the first place. And the NFL rule allowing both teams to possess the ball in overtime, even if the first team to possess it scores a touchdown, has now been approved for the regular season, too. That rule was approved for the postseason back in 2022. All right, we got lots more SportsCenter coming up as Aaron Rodgers free.
Things Tuesday. The owners have approved a proposal which will guarantee a possession to each team in overtime during the regular season, a rule which previously only applied to the postseason, which I believe makes sense, because why do you have different rules for postseason and regular season? You're going to have to wait for a decision on the brotherly shove and or tush push after the owners postponed that. Topic is likely to be revisited when the owners gather for their spring meetings in late May. And the league also announced that the method of measuring first downs will switch from the chain gangs to camera-based technology, specifically Sony's Hawkeye virtual measurement system. The chain crew will remain on the sidelines in a secondary capacity. Now, in my opinion, the overtime rule is simply the application of common sense. The tush-push play really feels like it's on thin ice. Green Bay ran cover for everybody, right? They said we think you should ban it. They got 16 teams to support as of now. I don't feel like it's the player safety angle as much as I think there's opposition to a play which is seen as a sure thing. And as I say, the Packers deserve credit for bringing something to the table that's got a lot of support. As for the chain gang, there's nostalgia, but elderly men in little outfits wandering out there to measure where the ball is between 2 sticks and a chain. We'd probably evolve beyond that, right?
It's not a flaw with Purdy. It's a flaw in the market and the way that quarterbacks are currently paid. There's also a cautionary tale, not just there, but in their own backyard, paying top flight to a non-elite wide receiver who they've tried to shop this offseason in Brandon Ayuk. I understand injury a season ago, but San Francisco 49ers are going to have to cut a big check here to Purdy, and Purdy's going to have to respond in kind to that money. I know it's my job to find the angles, Mac, but I'm wearing thin on this. The Rodgers saga. I mean, Steelers said they're going to wait a little longer. There was a camera crew at Rodgers and DK Metcalf's workout recently. I don't know. Take me inside the text messages that you have in your pocket right now. What are the Steelers legends that you stay in touch with saying about how this is playing out currently?
Their patience is ran its course. What are we doing? What are we doing? and this is the silver lining that I came about today. I said, because of what is going on, and with Pittsburgh not really being tied to any other potential quarterback, they have to know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback. They have to know. Think about this. DK Metcalf was traded to Pittsburgh. and all of a sudden, there's a camera crew taking pictures when Aaron Rodgers is throwing to who? DK Metcalf, right? So clearly Aaron wants to play football because you don't just casually go out to UCLA and say, hey, let's throw it around. That was planned. That was planned, right? Let me go ahead and see what's going on. Let's spark up some media traction right now. And they did. So I feel like with Pittsburgh being as smart as they've been as an organization, I don't think they will put all their eggs in one basket with no bottom in the basket. They have to know Aaron Rodgers is going to be our guy, because Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy. You're basically giving the keys to Mason Rudolph. And there's no knock on Mason Rudolph, but this is the same quarterback you allowed to walk to be Tennessee's backup quarterback. And now you're trying to have him be your starter, especially with the playoff aspirations that you have year in and year out. That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like within the building, or with a few people in the building, they know for sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to say, yes, I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's get it done. Because everything else that has surfaced for all of us from the outside looking in, it really isn't making any sense. That's why I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers know something that we do not know.
It's currently a waiting game with Rodgers. I want to follow up here. If it is Rodgers, and you do get a year, maybe 2 years a run out of him as a Pittsburgh Steeler, are you still going quarterback at some point in this upcoming draft? Milroe, Dart, someone further down the board?
You know what, Joe? Great question. I think it depends on how the board falls, like in terms of players. And you look at, I feel like there's only two legit quarterbacks that should be first-round draft picks. That's Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I know other guys are getting traction, but in just terms of what they did collegiately, week in and week out, the consistency and their ability to elevate others around them, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, also too, Joe, we must remember they don't have a second-round pick as we see it today.
Yeah.
So either you're taking a flyer on a first-round quarterback. We saw how that played when they took a flyer on Kenny Pickett in a watered-down quarterback class. It didn't work out well. Or you might try to trade back up in the second round, take a guy, or just stay put in the third round and take a guy. But at some point, because even if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, he's not the long-term answer. And because they have not been able to find the long-term answer, that's why they're going into this year-by-year case at the quarterback position.
And that's just it. We've talked about this ad nauseum before. Got to get serious about finding the long-term answer at quarterback, and that's hard to do when you keep winning 10 games, sneaking into the playoffs, and bowing out early. Let's keep cameras on the mind here, if you will. You know Jerry Jones is going to find them. Preparing to pay their star edge are the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons, but Jerry offering a ricochet shot at Parsons' agents. Take a listen.
The agent is not a factor here, or something to worry about. And I don't know his name. And so my point is that I'm not trying to demean you in any way, but this isn't about an agent. The agent doesn't have one thing to do with what we're doing when we get on a football field against a team. Micah does. To the degree I'm involved, I do. The people that have something to do with what we do going forward relative to our fans in football are me and the player, not the agent.
Now we'll talk quarterbacks, other positions here as well. Of note, the Tyreek Hill trade rumors somehow, some way are back again. And this time it's thanks exclusively to Tyreek Hill. He posted this on Sunday kind of evening on Twitter, where he quote tweeted a Dolphins guy, would you be willing to trade Tyreek Hill? And he put the laughing, smiling emoji. And then, over the cap Jason, which he's kind of like searching, I think, his name and trade and stuff to find this. And, Jason over the cap was like, likely draft trade candidate and biggest one. And Tyreek does the peace sign and then does it again separately. Look, the Tyreek Hill trade drama is messy. And if I were a Dolphins fan, I am not. If I were a Dolphins fan, I'd get so annoyed. I would be so tired of this. To recap what's happened since January, after the year ended, Tyreek Hill tells Dolphins media, I'm done. I want out. I don't want to be here. I don't like losing. Trade me. He then met with the Dolphins, did not request a trade from the team, and then later told Mike Florio he was emotional. He's not going to request a trade for the Miami Dolphins. He's going to be here in 2025, and then now he's doing it again. It's just so so sloppy, maybe is a term for it. At NFL owners meetings, Mike McDaniel's present. He's asked about Tyreek Hill. He goes, Tyreek has been in the building often. Tyreek is known for semantics on social media. We're in a good spot with Tyreek Hill, saying he doesn't think they're going to trade him. Now, I know Micah Parsons would love Tyreek Hill. Which maybe you don't want together. I don't know if the general vibe of Tyreek Hill is what like Brian Schottenheimer is looking for in this Cowboys team. After all the Tank Lawrence mess, I don't know if that's what Schottenheimer actually wants. But purely on the field, he's good at football. His numbers dipped this year, absolutely. But hey, the quarterback was hurt. He wasn't very good. He missed a lot of time. He's still a perennial 1,000-yard receiver with actual speed that this team does not have at this time. They could use his game-breaking ability quite simply. The big issue is the contract. The Dolphins lose salary cap if they trade Tyreek Hill. It's a $27.7 million cap hit. They lose over $500,000 if they trade him. The new team would owe him $14.97 for this year. But they owe him about $28 million in cash. And the cap hit next year is $39 million, which the Cowboys don't want to pay. But if you cut him after a year, you owe him another $12.7. So you're basically doing a one-year rental at $28, or starting to evolve into year 2 when you're looking at, $50+ million combined. That's a lot of money for a receiver. I get the general interest in it. I've seen a lot of you guys ask me about it on social media when I put the tweet out. And it came on the heels of Steve hinting at it, so I get it, and Micah and Tyreek were hanging out at a charity event. I understand why it comes about. But this is not how the Cowboys operate. It's not how they do business. So I would not get my hopes up here. I just don't think that's how they're going to go about doing things. Trading a day 3 pick for a cheaper wide receiver? Sure. They don't take somebody early. But I would be surprised if they went down that route because of the everything of how they operate.